In early 2019, I first got into tarot. I bought my first deck, even though people say you shouldn't buy your own deck. I don't put much stock into that. I bought my first deck, and I've enjoyed it ever since. It was the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Rider-Waite-Smith deck, classic. Hard to beat that deck. There's just so much there. And one reason that it is set apart from other decks is that the minor arcana are so rich and beautiful and packed with information on each card. A lot of decks, the minor cards have very simple illustration, sometimes with just not a whole lot to read into. So I really appreciate Pamela Coleman Smith, the artist of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. I appreciate that she put such intricate detail into every single one of the cards. So, in early 2019, I started getting into tarot. I started to read books about tarot. I started to do readings for myself with the cards. I started to do readings for friends and my girlfriend, and I started to just stare at the cards and study the cards and journal about the cards and try to unpack my own feelings and intuition and interpretation of each card. And my intuition and my interpretation of each card changes and evolves over time, which is great. But as I was getting into tarot, as I was reading books about it, I read a book called The Mother Peace Guidebook, I think, something like that. Designed for the Mother Peace Tarot deck, which is it's my second favorite deck, the Mother Peace deck. It's a beautiful deck. If you're into tarot, you may already have that deck. You may have heard about it. If you haven't and you're interested in tarot, check it out. There's when I bought the Mother Peace deck, this book did not come with it. It's not like a small little guidebook where it just kind of tells you what each card supposedly means. No, this book is like a huge, awesome book that talks about all sorts of stuff. And, beyond the way that each card is depicted in that specific deck. The book talks about various spiritual traditions, various mythologies, esoteric symbolism and archetypes and the chakras and even astrology and stuff like that. So I read that book. And in that book, there is one chapter that instructs you on how to, supposedly find your soul card. The tarot card that is your soul card. And it instructs you how to calculate basically what your supposed card of the year for each year is. Now, this was 2019. I used the instructions to calculate my card of the year that year in 2019. And before I tell you what that is, let me just back up for a second and say that when I started doing readings for myself a lot that year, I was doing readings like at least once a week for myself, which is way more than I do these days. These days I usually just do one reading a month for myself on the night of the full moon. But at this time I was really exploring. I was really digging into it. I was investigating and I was reflecting a lot and practicing a lot. So when I was doing readings for myself at that time, there was one card that repeatedly popped up way more than any other card. And I'm not just talking about like a couple times, I'm talking about this card popped up several times. And it wasn't even a card that I was initially drawn to that much, but as it kept popping up, I obviously was kind of confronted with it and forced to think about it more and reflect on, like, why does this card specifically keep popping up? Is there any meaning to this? And that card was the Chariot card. The Chariot card is what kept popping up for me over and over again. I've grown to really, really love this card. It's a beautiful card, is it not? So the Chariot card kept popping up, and then I'm reading the Mother Peace book. I calculate my card of the year. Well, what is it? It's the Chariot card for my card of the year when I use the calculations. Well, then I calculate my supposed soul card, and what is it? It's the Chariot card. For real. The Chariot card is my soul card, was my 2019 card, and it's the card that popped up the most often in the readings I was doing for myself. Not the readings I was doing for other people, but the readings I was doing for myself. The Chariot card. Now, let's fast forward a little bit to last year, 2020. There was a certain time when my girlfriend and I started going outside every Tuesday night and cleaning up trash on the sidewalks of our block, because we take walks a lot, and our block and the surrounding areas have a lot of trash strewn everywhere on the grass and the sidewalk and the road and everywhere. And it got to a certain point when we were like, well, let's make a point of cleaning this trash up on a regular basis. Nobody else seemed to be doing it, so why not take that action? So we started doing that, and unfortunately we've kind of gotten out of that pattern a little bit, and I want to make it a weekly ritual again. But check it out. The first night that we went out there to clean the trash off the sidewalk and the grass, she has like this pooper scooper thing. So she was picking up all the dog poop, which there is tons of, and so that was completely necessary. So that's kind of how we do it. She picks up the dog poop, I pick up all the trash. So I'm on this certain part of the sidewalk and the grass, this one area close to my apartment. And, I see boxes of random stuff. Just a couple boxes. I see some like broken furniture. I see some shoes. There's a bunch of just random stuff thrown onto this one part of the grass. And, it was just something, it was just miscellaneous stuff that somebody had thrown out. Basically, that's what it appeared to be. Now, when I was picking up all of what I could pick up that was basically the equivalent of trash, I left some stuff, like some shoes and stuff like that, if somebody wanted to grab those and keep those and all that stuff. So anyways, I'm kind of going through the random stuff on the grass, and I looked down at one point, and there was a card there. There was a card in the grass, and this was, it was dark. It was hard to see things because I don't use a flashlight when I do this. There was a card on the grass, and I quickly realized that it was a tarot card, and that it was the Chariot card. For real. It was the Chariot card. Now, obviously that was like pretty mind-bending to me, because this was after I had gotten the Chariot card a bunch in my readings for myself. I had read the Mother Peace book that, calculated my 2019 card as well as my soul card as the Chariot card. And then I find a random tarot card on the grass, which has never happened before. You know, it's not completely crazy. If this person was throwing out, it's not completely crazy to find a tarot card necessarily, even though it is pretty unusual. But, you know, it makes sense. If this person was throwing out a bunch of stuff, it would make sense maybe, I guess, if they just threw out a deck of, you know, tarot cards or something. What was strange, though, is that there weren't any other tarot cards. You know, I saw the Chariot card and I was like, well, there must be, for one, that's crazy, but let me just see if there are other tarot cards around here that, you know, somebody just threw out the whole deck. I couldn't find a single other tarot card. I looked in the boxes, I looked all around, I looked everywhere in the grass. There was no other tarot card. There was just the Chariot card sitting face up. And, you know, it kind of blew my mind. Like, it was pretty amazing, honestly. And it was exciting. And who knows what that means. But, you know, at the time, one of the feelings that I had at the time was that, you know, maybe it's something telling me that I'm doing something good by cleaning up all this trash or you know, taking this action. Something that I was bothered about, that I would complain about, and now I was taking personal and direct action into doing something about it. That's what it felt like, you know? It felt like it was this little wink. And I know that sounds wild and far out, and it is, but it happened, and it was strange, and it was beautiful. And it felt really magical. It felt very synchronistic. And so, yeah. That is my story about the Chariot card. And before I end, I will show you that exact Chariot card that I found. Because it actually wasn't the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and it wasn't any other deck that I'm familiar with. The card looks a lot like this. You can tell it's modeled after it, because most tarot decks, in one way or another, do model the cards after the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. I haven't been able to find what deck that Chariot card is from. It's hard for me to know what to type into Google to find that, really. But let me show it to you. The same night that I found this, I also found that gold thing randomly too, and I kept it because I liked it. Now check this out. This is the Chariot card that was on the ground. This is the Chariot card. Sorry, I'm shaking. This is the Chariot card that I found on the grass. And you know, I need to do a little bit more you know, studying of this specific version of it, because it is kind of striking that this charioteer is getting into the chariot and is not already in it. But, you know, most of the imagery is very similar to the Rider-Waite-Smith. But yeah, that's my crazy story about the Chariot card, you know, and I have a bunch of crazy stories, and maybe I'll tell more on this YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed it. Peace out. Thanks for watching.